So for the next 2 months, real estate agents, broker owners, as well as team owners will be focusing on business planning for 2025. Most will be reflecting on this year. They will seeing the things that are working, tweaking any things that are not working, putting a lot of their emphasis on the strategies, the tactics, and the targets that they want to reach next year and beyond, and ultimately building a good, solid, profitable business. Some will probably spend some hours, some will spend some weeks, and unfortunately, some will not spend any time at all. Now, I'm not judging. I've been in that situation before, right? But you definitely want to have a plan at the end of the day. You want to know where you're heading, where you're going. So in this video, I want to share with you how I was able to jump levels when it comes to my production, when it comes to my income, when it comes to my business growth, right? By inserting these 3 questions, leveraging these 3 questions and putting them in my business plans. For you guys, for context purposes, if you're not familiar with me, my name is Alan Kushmakov. I started multiple 7-figure businesses, including a real estate brokerage called Best Homes Real Estate, where in the last 4.5 years, we hired 400 plus agents. We also started agent recruiting marketing company to help broker owners to grow and scale their businesses called Modern Day Brokerage. And I personally sold over 500 homes in the past 11 years for $150 million. So in today's video, guys, I'm going to show you exactly what I have been doing to grow and scale my businesses. And hopefully you'll find value in it and implement it and employ it in your business plan as well. Now, let's start with the first question that you want to incorporate in your business plan. I really truly believe that's probably one of the most important questions that you want to ask yourself, especially if you are a business owner and planning for the future. And that question is, what is it that I want out of my business? And the reason we want to have that question answered is because it will help you to get that clarity. And clarity helps you with the purpose, with the execution of the plan. A lot of times as business owners, we get sidetracked. We get bombarded every single day with shit, with a lot of crap, right? It's really difficult for us to focus on the future of the business. And it's a very difficult question to answer because of that. Because the fact is, sometimes we don't see the forest from the trees. And if you really spend time and really address that question and really figure out like where you want to be, not only, let's say, 6 months down the road, but ultimately 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road, that will really help you with really focusing on that particular target for the next months and years to come. And I get it. It's hard sometimes to really kind of like see what happens 5 years down the road or see where your company is going to be 5 years or 10 years down the road. I share a quick story with you. I remember when I got into the real estate world back in 2013. Yes, I want to build a successful real estate career. Yes, I wanted to make lots of money. Yes, I wanted to create long-lasting relationships with my clients. But my goal that year was all about making like 60 grand. And the reason I wanted to make that 60 grand, so this way I can cover my expenses, right? And don't screw up. In other words, like don't give up and go get another job. So the 6 months of that year, my first 6 months were super difficult. Didn't sell any of the homes. But finally, I was able to get the traction going and we closed. I think I closed on 16 transactions in my last 6 months of the year. So when it comes to knowing your targets, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I want to sell a bunch of homes. I want to make $300,000, $400,000 right off the bat. You can start with the short-term targets, 90 days, 6 months, 12 months, right? And always think about the future and what exactly do we want out of the business? Because ultimately, as business owners, we want to own the business. And what I mean by that is that we don't want the business to own us. We want to start buying back our time. We want to have options in our lives. We want to have freedom ultimately. We want to have the income that will support our lifestyles, right? And we want to have that in place when we are waking up every single morning and going out there and doing our part in growing our business. So the first one is all about what is it that you want, getting that clarity so every day you can wake up and push through to get to that particular target. Here, real quick, if you're a licensed real estate agent in the state of Arizona, I want to talk to you about my brokerage, Best Homes Real Estate. Best Homes Real Estate is looking to partner with agents that are looking for better support, better tools, better resources in growing their business. If that sounds like you at all, here's what I would like you to do. All right, click on the link below, book a call with me, and I'll share with you exactly what does it look like to work with us and partner with us. Talk to you soon. Now back to the show. So now we have a crystal clear vision and our targets, hopefully strategies and tactics, where we want to take our business, what we want out of the business. The second question that you want to include in your business was like, what's really going to hold you back from achieving these results, right? What is the biggest challenge right now currently that is holding you back, or is the constraint in your business that preventing you to take your business to the next level? And I'll give you a couple examples. You may be an agent that says, you know what, I want to sell 7 more homes a year. Okay, great. Well, what is the biggest constraint for you right now? The biggest constraint for most of the agents, from my experience, is the lack of lead generation, right? And that can be prospecting, in other words, picking up the phone and calling potential buyers and sellers, or that could be marketing/branding, right? Whatever you decide to do, at the end of the day, I think when it comes to selling more homes, right, you got to have a consistent flow of leads coming in into your pipeline. So your biggest constraint would be lead generation. So imagine this now. Imagine for the next 90 days or next 120 days or next year or so, you dedicate 2 hours a day. You're super intentional, you're hyper focused, and you're doing lead gen. Non-negotiable, there are no any other distractions, you're only doing lead gen. Okay? Now, the rest of the time you're still spending on maintaining the business, managing the business, putting out fires and all that kind of stuff. But 2 hours a day, you're spending on lead generation. I've done that. I remember my first 3 years in real estate. I would come to the office at 7 o'clock in the morning. From 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., I would be role playing. And from 7:30 on, I am lead generating 4 hours. My goal every single day, I got to book at least one listing appointment. Now, there are times where I was not able to do so, but that was my benchmark every single day. And that's how I was able to go from 16 transactions to 35 transactions to 75 transactions my third year and netted $500,000. Why? Because the biggest focus in my business was all about lead gen and then ultimately the lead conversion. Same thing, for example, if you're a broker owner, right? The biggest constraint that most of the broker owners have is the fact that they're not having enough transactions. They're not closing enough transactions that covers their expenses. I just had a conversation with a broker owner out of New Jersey. He's got 10 agents. He started this year with 16 agents though. 6 of those agents, some of them were producing agents, left the brokerage. He's got 10 agents right now. Only 2 or 3 of them actually producing, and the rest of them not really doing that much at all. And I asked him, I said, hey, are your agents right now, their production covering your expenses? And he's like, no, they're not. I have to actually produce myself. And then on top of that, I have another job from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. in sanitation business, where he has to work in order to support himself and 4 kids that he's got in college. Think about it. So he's got a real estate brokerage with 10 agents that is not making him money. And he's trying, and I asked him, so what would you say would be your biggest constraint? And he says, look, Alan, I just want to make sure that my agents produce enough so they can cover my expenses. Here's the reality of it. You cannot shape or mold agents to do the things that you want them to do. They have to do it themselves. There's that old saying, you can lead the horse to the well, but you cannot make it drink. So instead of, and I told this to him, I said, hey, instead of focusing all of your attention on these 10 agents, and more than half of them are not really producing and they don't give a shit, why not really attract more agents on the front end, develop those agents, continue pouring in your time, the resources, provide the tools to them, so they're the ones who are selling real estate, right? Why not have a consistent way of attracting real estate agents into your world versus trying to get these 10 agents to do more what they're willing to do or not willing to do themselves, right? So the biggest constraint when it comes to the brokerages is the fact that they don't have a consistent way of attracting real estate agents, recruiting those agents, and obviously those agents are now not there, and because of that, the production is down. So I told him in his situation, it's like, hey, what would it look like if you would dedicate 2 hours a day? If you would dedicate 2 hours a day in talking to the agents, in meetings to the agents, present your value proposition to the agents, and ultimately bring these agents over to your brokerage. It's non-negotiable. You're spending 2 hours a day. Now, with our services, a quick plug when it comes to our services, we actually do a lot of that for the broker owner. We are your recruiting marketing team. We get agents to raise their hand and inquiring about, what the brokerage has to offer. So the broker owner's job is to have the conversation with the agents that are interested in learning more about their company, articulate their value proposition, and ultimately bring them on board. So in reality, we're giving you more at-bats at the plate, which most of the broker owners are missing at this point, is those opportunities to meet, talk to the agents, and ultimately hire them part of their organization. Hey, if that interests you at all, there's a link on the bottom of this page. You can book a call with one of my team members, and we'll be more than happy to explain to you how we can help you to grow and scale your brokerage in 2025 and beyond. So now you know the fact that your biggest constraint is lead gen or your biggest constraint is agent recruiting. Dedicate those 2 hours every single day when it comes to that particular constraint. right? Work on solving that constraint. And yes, business plans are very important, and I'm a huge fan of business plans. But what is the point of the business plan where we don't really know what we want, and then solving the biggest issue, the biggest problem that we have in our business? All the other stuff is there, but it's not that important if you're not working every single day on solving the biggest constraint that you have in your business. And finally, the third question is like, how do I get it? Now, we got the crystal clear vision, right? We know what's preventing us to achieve that vision. The third question is like, man, how do I get it? And that has to do, if you think about it, with commitment, has to do with the intensity of that commitment, and ultimately the consistency. So if you add those three together, commitment, intensity, and consistency, that's the winning formula when it comes to jumping levels in your business. I'm going to give you an example of the intensity. The intensity would be like, I want to sell 7 homes, and for the next 2, 3 days, 4 days, I'm going to be making 50 calls a day. That's the intensity. The intensity plus consistency means that I want to sell 7 homes. I'm going to make calls every single day for the next 3 months, or for the next 6 months, or for the next year. That's the consistency. So if you add the intensity to your daily routine when it comes to your activities, and then you add the consistency to it on a back end, and I know there are going to be days when you're not feeling like this is something that I want to do. Trust me, I've been in that situation before many times. I remember my first 2 years as a real estate agent, I battled with ulcerative colitis. And there are many days, there are many weeks where energy-wise, health-wise, I was just not 100%. I would barely at 50 or 60%. And there are days where I just couldn't really do it, but somehow I was able to push myself through. And that's in general in life. I mean, we're going to be constantly getting tested, right? And there are going to be days when we don't feel like doing certain things. We don't feel like making calls. We don't feel like making posts or doing that kind of stuff. We don't feel like making calls, right? Or posting on social media platforms. But we have to continue to overcome these obstacles. Regardless, whether it's something that you can control or something that you cannot control, we still have to be able to overcome them. And in conclusion, here's what really helped me to overcome and push through these limiting beliefs, these self-doubts, or just questioning whether it's going to work or not. And that has to do with the fact that I disattach myself from the outcome and really focus on the process. If you think about it, if we're only focusing on the outcome, if we're constantly thinking about the outcome, if we're constantly thinking about our results, right, what happens really is we're robbing ourselves of the wins that we need on a daily basis to continue to push through. Because entrepreneurship is hard. It's difficult. We eat crap every single day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner at times. And we cannot constantly think about the outcomes in the situation because we will give up. We will raise that white flag and we're going to retreat. So instead of thinking about the outcome, focus on the process. Focus on the wins. No matter how big or small the wins are, at the end of the day, they are wins. The fact that we can wake up every single morning and see the sun, see the sky, get out of bed, have a roof over our heads, have a loving family, having a business to attend to, helping agents, helping clients, that's a blessing. That's a win. And if we do this every single day without really focusing too much on the outcomes that we set for ourselves, we're going to continue to overcome and push through and get where we want to get to. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. Have an amazing 2025. If you like this content, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time around. God bless.